wages, Donald. They haven't moved in 7 years. People are not feeling this economic recovery because they haven't seen any changes in their salary. What's the solution to moving the needle on wages for the American people?
I don't think there is a recovery, first of all. If you look, we have 93 million people that really are out of work. And if you look at the real number of unemployment, I actually heard a number the other day, 42%. But I've been saying from 19 to 21%, if you really look at the numbers. And, this nonsense about 5.4 and 5.3%, it's total nonsense. And what we have to do is bring jobs back. We have to stop with the China, with the Japan, with even Mexico. Nabisco now is moving a big factory. They're moving a big plant from Chicago to Mexico. Ford is building a massive assembly plant in Mexico, $2.5 billion. So many other this is like Mexico's becoming like the new China. We have to keep our jobs. You see it all the time. I mean, you're seeing it. Another thing interesting, and I'm going to start talking about it big, is corporate inversion. The money that's out there and the corporations that are leaving this country now.
So you mean a foreign company acquiring an American company just to improve their tax story?
Not even that. An American company buying a foreign company and then moving.
Same thing, right? And then they improve their tax story.
An American company going, and then you have. They say probably, and nobody really knows the number, but it's massive, $2.5 trillion out there where companies can't bring the money back. Some of these companies now, Maria, are going out to get the money, which is bad because they're taking the company with them, and that means the jobs and all of the other things. A lot of the people that you interview, and I see it, they're international people. They come from London. They come from other countries. They run American companies, and they're from different. They don't care about our country. They will move if they have lower taxes, if they have lower wages, they'll move and you see it all the time. But they have to allow that money to come back into this country.
So how are you going to balance this? Because you're saying a lot of things here. I mean, on the one hand, you want to make sure that we've got these trade deals in place. You want to do trade, better deals with Japan, better deals with China. And then at the same time, you're saying you don't want any illegals here, and it sounds a little protectionist. Do you find that you're a protectionist?
No, I'm not. I'm a free trader. But, the problem with free trade is you need smart leaders, and we don't have smart leaders. You need great negotiators, and we don't have great negotiators. We're not using our great negotiators. We're using diplomats. We're using political hacks. We're using people to negotiate with China and Japan, and and by the way, I use them as examples. But we don't make good deals with anybody. Every country that does business with us walks away laughing.
Let me ask you about this space story. President Obama has been setting his sights on Mars, spending money to get the U.S. there. But we have the Chinese trying to target our satellites in space, namely our military satellites. What would the Trump space program look like?
Well, I wouldn't be thinking about Mars. I'd be thinking about getting our country fixed first, okay? Before we worry about Mars, I'd be thinking about our infrastructure, our bridges that are falling down, our airports that are third world. You go to some of these places, like you go to Qatar and you go to so many places in
Singapore.
China.
Singapore is gorgeous.
Singapore.
Yeah.
You look at their airports and their highways and their roads and their infrastructure. It's incredible. And then you come back home and you land at LaGuardia, you land at JFK, you land at LAX or Newark, and it's like third world airports. It's so sad what's happened to
right. That's absolutely right. But where does the money come from, Donald, to pay for it? I mean, you're saying all very important things in terms of infrastructure in this country, but will you have to raise taxes to get there?
No, it comes from cutting costs. We are tremendously bloated. It comes from cutting costs, and it comes from bringing back jobs from these other places, and it comes from fairness. China devalued, as you know, because you covered it very big a few days ago. China devalued, the biggest in 2 decades. Nobody thought they'd do that again. They've been devaluing their currency now, and they're making it impossible for our companies to compete. We can't allow this to happen. So and as you know, we can do things. We have so many cards over China. People say, oh, well, they have the power over us. It's really wrong. We have the power. We have rebuilt China. If you think about it, the money they've taken out from our country alone, now they've done it in a smaller way to Europe and other places, but what they've taken out of the United States, we've rebuilt China.
Well, part of the issue is the dollar is so strong here. Do you think the dollar is too strong? Do you have a strong dollar policy?
Well, the beauty is that China, so we owe them $1.4 trillion. They did it when it was weak, and now it's strong. So they're making it on that end, and they're also making it with trade and all the money they're making. I mean, they're making it every different way. The dollar is hurting us. There's no question about it. I mean, these companies can't compete. A friend of mine is in the excavation business, and he just ordered Komatsu tractors. Komatsu. He always ordered cats, right? He's a big Caterpillar guy. And he ended up ordering Komatsu excavators. And I said, why? He said, it was impossible for anybody to compete. Nice equipment. I said, is it equal? Maybe not. So it's not equal. He hated doing it. He was depressed over doing it. But he ends up buying Komatsu, which is Japanese.
Right.
And it's all because they've cut the hell out of the yen also. So I think the dollar is going to hurt us very badly, the strong dollar.
What do you do, though? Do you want to rein it in?
Well, maybe they're going to have to. Look, we're going to lose a lot of business with the the strong dollar sounds good. It sounds good. So
Right.
we have a strong dollar.
That's what they always say it, but they don't do
That's
it.
about where it stops because, if you look at it, you can say we have a strong dollar, we have a strong currency, but and there are certain advantages to that, but there are certain huge disadvantages, and the disadvantages are our companies are really suffering. It's very hard for Caterpillar and a lot of these other companies. Look at their stock. I saw their stock the other day was that it's very hard for these companies to compete when you have, China and Japan knocking the hell out of their currency.
So
it's very hard.
As the leader of the free world, what do you do about it, Donald?
You have to have respect. You have to have them not do that. And if they do that, you're going to have to put a tariff on their goods coming in to equalize it.
Okay, so you're talking about tariffs. You're talking about...
You have no other choice. I don't want tariffs. Hey, look, let's face it. China does tariffs on us like crazy. I have another friend who's a manufacturer. He can't get his goods into China. And when he does, and he's a really good manufacturer, really good. When he does get them in, they charge him a tariff, and it's a massive. He gave me a number which I won't even say because I can't even believe it. But they charge him massive tariffs to get his stuff into China. They put their stuff in, and we don't charge them anything. So, for people think there's free trade is only good when you have smart people on your side.
Yeah, it's interesting.